Hello and welcome to Rain Francis Art. My name is Rain. Today I'm pulling out my watercolor paints and I'm going to show you how I painted this abstract water scene. This is going to be a very relaxing painting, my friends, so I hope you follow along. This is what I'll be using for my abstract water painting today. I've got Strathmore watercolor paper. It's the 300 series. And it's 9 inches by 12 inches, 140 pound. And I've got it landscaped and I've masking taped it down onto my surface here. For paints, I've got my pan paints. The brand is called Pretty Excellent. I got this on Amazon years ago, and this is what it looks like. I always make myself a nice swatch so that I can see what colors the colors will look like on my page. I'm going to be sticking to blues and white today, possibly with some greens, but in the description below I will make sure to indicate everything that I've used, including what brushes I'll be using. I love this brush. I use it all the time for my watercolor. It's a round brush and I've used it so much that the writing is all worn off on it, and I don't remember what size it is, but I would say it would be maybe about an 8 or a 10. And I've got a flat brush just in case. That's a 6. But it, you know, the numbers, they depend all on the brand as well. This is a number 6 flat brush here. This is a number 4 round and a number 2 round. But like I said, I'll put all that in the description below. So that you know what I end up using, because at this point I'm not sure. This is a spontaneous video that I'm doing because I haven't done a video on this channel for such a long time. And I wanted to show you, I have this book, Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Watercolor. Now, I don't think it's everything I wanted to learn about watercolor, but it's an interesting book. You know, they show you some techniques, different kinds of techniques, and a lot of theory, color theory, perspective, you know, placement, complementary colors and things like that. Value, which is interesting. Look at that beautiful watercolor painting there. Isn't that gorgeous? That is gorgeous. That doesn't look like watercolor to me. That just looks so realistic, you know. For me, when I think of watercolor, I think of things like this, you know, very loose. And that's kind of neat, that one. But what I was looking at was what techniques to use when you want to when you want to paint water or the sea. Now this is a painting called Open Sea, and the artist is Edward Norton Ward. And the story goes that he was, I think he was up north in the Alaskan coast. I kept wanting to say Atlantic, Alaskan coast, and he was on a boat, and they were really rough seas. And he tried to recreate what he saw with just some, you know, jagged strokes, putting some white here and there to make it look like it's rough waters. And he got rid of the horizon line here. And it's a really nice abstract painting of the sea, a rocky sea. So I thought maybe I would try to go for something like this, but I don't want to copy. I'm just using this as my inspiration. So I wanted to let you know that. So I'm going to keep that. Sorry, I just bumped my microphone. I'm going to keep that on the side here so I can keep an eye on it. But I might not make it as rocky as Mr. Ward did. I might just make it, oh, I don't know, a nice blue sea. I like calm waters. I'm not into rough waters. And that could be a metaphor or not. So I'm hoping that I don't bump my camera again. I'm hoping that the sunny day continues, because I decided to not put my bright lights on today because I really love natural light when I'm doing my videos. But if it starts to cloud over, then I might have to stop the video and put my bright lights on. So the first thing I'm going to do is get that pet hair off. I'm just going to wet Unlike Mr. Ward, I'm going to put a horizon line right there about halfway down my canvas. I'm just wetting, doing wet on wet technique. My dog is snoring in the background. I don't know if you can hear him. So I've got half of my canvas and another pet hair here that I think is actually under the masking tape, so I'm going to leave it. Yes, I have masking taped down my canvas so it doesn't move. And I'm just going to take a look, and I really like this blue here. It's called Turkey Blue in this palette, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 from the left. It's this one here. And I'm just going to add that turkey blue all across the bottom half of my canvas where I have the wet. Where I have the water is what I meant to say. I just want it kind of really, really light. And we always have to remember that watercolor dries a lot lighter. So just keep that in mind. So there I've got that going on, and my page is still wet. My canvas is still wet. So I'm going to choose a bit of a darker blue, and I think it's going to be, let's see, this one here, it's just called Fresh Blue. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have a little bit of brown in there, so I'm going to clean that up a little, and there's some red in there too. Let me clean that up. To clean it up, I just put water in there and then pull off the colors I don't want to see. All right, now my brush is slightly wet. It's not dry, and I'm just going to dip into that fresh blue color. And like I said, my canvas is still wet, so I'm just going to kind of draw some jagged, squiggly blue lines in there. And I'm just having fun today. This is not about perfect technique, okay? It's abstract. I've just been concentrating so much on my home and family lately. Some of you who follow my other channels already know I adopted 4 dogs this year. Just wetting the tip of my paintbrush there. Now, before I continue my little story there, I want to pull off some of that blue, because the idea is that the darker colors should be closer to us. So I've just wet my brush, cleaned it off, tapped it on paper towel, and I'm pulling some of that blue off. Doing it again. Just want it to be a nice light blue and darker on the bottom, which we'll get to that. But I want to have some white in there too. Here I'm just distributing. All right, so I'm going to go back into that fresh blue and put some darker waves down here. Okay. Just cleaning off my brush here. I am now going to take my number 4 round brush, okay, and I'm just wetting it lightly, and I'm going to take some more of that fresh blue and maybe put in a little bit, just some hints of dark. And my canvas is very, very wet. So there is some of that blooming, they call it, going on, you know, when the paint sort of goes out like that. Some people think that that's the sign of a bad painting, but I don't. I love it. Just continuing down here to make it pretty dark. And I heard someone say one time, and it made perfect sense, when you're trying to draw waves, think of it as if you're drawing a mountain. Drawing or painting a mountain. So a mountain would be like, right? Mountains. And they do look like waves, if you think about it. Now that's going to dry really nicely. I'm just going to keep doing stuff like this. I'm just going to keep adding. And I want some of that fresh blue color a little higher up on my paintings. So what I'm going to do is grab my palette. This is the palette that I have here. And I'm going to mix some of that. I'll put it here. I would not advise you to mix any paint over your canvas, but I want you to see what I'm doing. So I've got a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm transferring some water onto this little plate here, this little palette here. And I've got some of that fresh blue. I'm going to mix it in there. All right. So I've got that on my palette now. I'm still going to wet. I'm going to add more water to this, okay? But I'll do it on the sides so that I don't get this all over my canvas. So I added some more water here. It should not be as dark as this on the bottom, hopefully. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing a little higher up there. Might be a little too wet. Yes, I'm going to add a little bit more of that fresh blue color to it. See, I've got some more here. There we go. I'm cleaning off my brush and dabbing it on a paper towel. Now let's see what this does. Yep, that's all right. I don't think that's going to be as dark. Now remember, I'm purposely leaving some areas white, okay? Don't know what this is going to look like in the end, but it's going to be something that I've helped myself to relax with. It may not look like water, but that's okay. Now I'm going to keep adding layers to the top, but lighter layers. See, I'm taking some of that I have on this side, and I'm going to add some water to it to lighten that up a bit. Because as we get closer to the horizon, we definitely want it to be lighter. And I will be adding some more dark color to this after. I just really wanted to get back and do some watercolor painting because I haven't done painting in a long time. I was saying before, if you follow my other channels, I have another channel called Rain's Kitchen and Garden. All the links are below. I've been posting shorts there mostly. I took a summer break from social media because in March, well, in February, my beautiful hound dog passed away. He was 18 years old and he had cancer and he passed away, and he was my soulmate. He really was my canine soulmate. And I didn't fare well during that time. I still had my little Rottweiler Raven, and she helped me through it. But then I got word in March that the shelter where I found Raven originally had a puppy. and they asked me if I wanted to adopt a puppy. And I wasn't ready yet, but I thought, well, you know what? Raven needs a buddy, right? She missed Jack too. She was showing signs of depression, and I could tell. It was time. Divine timing, as they say, right? So I went to the shelter, and I saw the puppy, and him and Raven got along so well. He was just adorable. And the shelter people told me, well, you know, he was seized in a puppy mill along with his mother and his grandmother. And I was like, what? I'm just gonna... There we go. I got a little water over there. And I said, well, can I meet them? And I met his mama and her mama. And I came home with all three of them. It's dangerous for me to go to a shelter and not come home with at least one animal. I'm just going to go back into that fresh blue directly from here with water on my brush, and I'm going down here again. Remember, mountains. Now, the bottom of my canvas has dried up a bit, so I'm just going to take water and soften those edges. That's what I'm doing, okay? I'm going to continue doing that. So the puppy was 4 months old, and his name is Benny Bear. And his mother is 2 years old. Her name is Lucy. And Granny, Lucy's mother, Benny's grandma, her name is Miley, and she's only 4 years old. So she is a granny, but she's not quite what we would think of as a granny. She's not that old. Just softening the edges, my friends. And so I brought 3 of them home, and Raven met them. I had Raven at the shelter with me, so she met them. They all got along fine. And they came home with me. I think it was March 8th. And boy, were they a handful, to say the least. These were dogs who were traumatized and neglected. And though my heart was in the right place, I have to say my stamina wasn't ready for it. My life became about the dogs, and trying to make them feel safe and not afraid of making any mistakes. You know, like Benny the puppy and his mama were not house trained. Neither of them were. So that was the first month. There was no sleep because I was teaching them to go outside, and during the day they were out every 20 minutes. Every 20 minutes. At night I took them out every few hours. So they learn very quickly, though. They're very smart dogs. There we go. I like how this is looking. I'm just going to soften up some of those edges a little better, though. I don't want to put too much water on the page right now because I'd like it to dry a little bit. But I'm going to continue up here, probably from my palette, where I have the watered down versions of that fresh blue. Putting a little more water on there. More snoring dogs. So yeah, it was tough because even if I said, And I'm not kidding you. This was my exact tone. If I would say to Grandma, I'm not going to say their names right now because they're sleeping and they'll get up and they'll wonder what I'm calling them for. But even if I said to Granny, no, 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 we don't do that, she would put her tail between her legs, make herself into a tiny little ball on the floor and hide her face, and it just broke my heart. Broke my heart, my friends, to see that. And it made me realize how terribly treated they had been, these girls. They were kept in cages to breed, basically. That was what their job was. Doesn't that just make you angry? But they're in a happy, loving home now, and they've adjusted very well. I'm so proud of them. But while I was at that shelter, there was another dog there, and her name was Allie. She was seized. She was not part of the family, but she was seized from the same puppy mill. And she has pointer in her, and my hound dog Jack was part pointer. I'm just adding little bits of blue here and there. And the way she looked at me, I saw Jack. I really saw Jack in her. And I nearly came home with 4 dogs that day, but she was not available for adoption because she had a tail injury and she needed surgery. But the shelter gals assured me that there were people interested in taking her home and taking care of her. So I didn't feel so bad. But I will continue the story in a moment. I'm going to grab my paints and I'm going to go back into that turkey blue, the lighter blue that we started off with. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's this one here. And I'm going to put some on my little palette up here. There we go. Oops, sorry about that. And I'll add a little water to that. I don't want it to be too dark. I'm going to test it. See if it's, yeah, it's a little dark. Oh, but that looks nice. Why don't I just put some down here? Oops, wrong one. This one. Can you hear them snoring? My cat's snoring too. Oh, my cat, when I brought home 4 dogs, he was probably thinking, what is she doing? He gets along really well with them now, though. It took a couple of weeks for him to feel comfortable, but my cat is very confident. I just had to teach them all not to chase him. So yes, this little pointer gal, Allie, had her surgery, and I was thinking about her in June, actually. And I contacted the shelter and I said, oh, whatever happened to Allie? And to my shock, 4 months later, they said, oh, she's still here. We can't find anyone to adopt her. I couldn't believe it. 4 months, that's too long to be in a shelter. Way too long. And I was like, why? She's so sweet. My canvas is a little more wet up here, so I'm going to apply a little paint from the palette instead, that turkey blue, okay? And they said because she's too energetic for most people. She needs to be able to run free every day in a huge yard, and she needs a lot of exercise. And I was like, and? This is what every dog needs. What's the problem? Why are people, what's wrong with people? She said, well, unfortunately, a lot of people who come to the shelters, they want turnkey pets. You want pets who are already house trained, who don't necessarily need to go for walks all the time because it doesn't fit into the people's schedule. And I was like, oh my goodness, okay. On my way. So this time I brought just Lucy with me. Because Lucy was the one I figured might not get along with Allie. So I brought Lucy and they were fine. They got along okay. Remember, I'm trying to make these look a little bit like mountains. I came home and Allie already knew the others, you know, because she was there with them. I switched her name from Allie to Allie Faye because I thought that Allie sounded a little too much like Miley, which is Grandma's name, so I didn't want to make matters worse for them by confusing them. So, 5 dogs and a cat. And not just 5 dogs, 5 traumatized dogs, and 4 traumatized dogs, because Raven was okay. She was a little traumatized when I got her 2 years ago, but she's fine now. And like I said, my cat is just Mr. Confidence, so I don't worry about him at all. But when I got them, they were severely malnourished and underweight. I had to fatten the girls up. The puppy was well taken care of, you know, but the girls were not taken care of, so they're all at a good weight now, but they consumed my time for the last 5 months. And like I said, that was my long-winded way of saying I haven't done any painting. But now, I just felt like it. They're all at a place where they can relax and sleep and nap without worrying. I'm really grateful for that. So, I think I'm just gonna... This area here seems to be a little bit dry, so I'm taking my flat brush and I'm going to gently put some water on there just to wet it a little bit so I can continue my wet on wet. If your canvas is dry, you can wet it again without destroying the paint that was painted underneath, but it really has to be dry. Like, you can't guess, it has to be really bone dry. So I'm going back into that turkey blue with my number 4. I've watered it down a little. And I'm I'm painting again some mountains. They're going to be very faded. So among other things, I call them the puppies. Benny the puppy, who is now 9 months old, and his mother Lucy, I call her a puppy too. So the puppies have severe separation anxiety as well, which makes it difficult because I have to be able to leave the house, you know. So at first it was a huge learning curve for me because together they were very destructive. They destroyed a lot of my things. I was not happy about that. I would say hundreds of dollars worth of things got destroyed by them. But I can't be mad at them. You can't. It's not their fault. So I had to find a way to teach them that, you know what, they don't have to destroy everything around them just because I'm not here. So I went out and bought 5 big cages and I've been crate training them with Kong toys and bones and treats, and it's working. I'm taking my large brush again back into that turkey blue color, and it's going to be very light. You may not even see it. I'm just going to add some very light blue to the sky. And if I want it to be darker after, I can add some layers. So it's kind of almost like I'm doing a wet on wet, but with the diluted blue color. You know, my heart squeezes a little when I hear them snoring, because it makes me realize that they're comfortable enough to allow themselves to fall asleep, you know? Whereas the first couple of weeks, they were up all the time. Or they would just pass out because they were so tired from staying awake. Alright, so I've got this sky. I might actually make that a little darker, so I'm going to put some water onto my palette and grab some of that turkey blue, a beautiful turkey blue color. A little more water, a little more turkey blue. There's so many of them snoring right now. I love it. Okay, that's better. I like that. A symphony of snoring. I just kind of erased out a little bit of my waves up there, but that's okay. I can go and put them right back in, which I'm going to do right now. Or should I? I don't think I should. I kind of like the way that looks. I might go into that darker fresh blue and just put the horizon back in there. There we go. I like how that's looking. I really, really do. Now, I don't really feel like stopping to let things dry. I probably should, but I don't want to. So I'm going to take my number 4 paintbrush, round paintbrush again. I'm just cleaning it off because I'm going to go into my white, which has some yellow in it, so I better clean that out because yellow and blue turns into green, and I don't want that. I'm just cleaning it up off camera there, okay? There we go. And there's also a pet hair in there. Surprise, surprise. And I have so many pets now. All right, so I'm loading up my paintbrush with watered down white. And I'm just gonna go in and put some white in, just here and there. This is a transparent white. That's kind of what I want. I don't want an opaque white because I want to be able to see beyond the white into the blue. See, get it? Ha ha ha. Rain, you're such a comedian. Oh, I really like this. I'm so glad I decided to paint today and record it too so that I can share it. I think my favorite videos that I've done on this channel are the watercolors. I think those are really, really my favorites because we can relax and talk, you know? I was thinking of doing a painting live at one point. I do have a friend in Australia. She's a sweet, sweet lady. Her name is Ivy. And she and I are going to do an art collaboration one of these days. I think that's going to be really super. And Ivy, I know you listen to my videos, so I love you, my dear. It would be nice to do a live one. I don't know if we can, but I would like to do a live art collaboration with anyone, but with my friend. That would be nice. She and I share the same belief systems, and it's wonderful having a friend like her. All right, I am very low on white here. I'm adding water. I want to get a little more white in some areas. Now remember what I said, I got that tip that when you're drawing waves, try to make them look like mountains. Well, in this case, I'm trying to make it look like a snow-covered cap or peak. I really like how that looks. I really like that. I think I'm going to add just a little bit of white to my sky. And I'm going to take my large number 10 round. I'm just cleaning it off in clean water. And I'm going to dip that into the white and just make some cloud areas. Nah, they don't really show. So what I'll do is I'll take some of my turkey blue, and I am definitely going to be wiping some of this off because I don't want it to be that dark. But I just had an idea. Just adding some add some turkey blue all across the sky. And I think I'll pull out a Bob Ross technique to do clouds. Bob Ross was an oil painter, but he had some fabulous techniques. Now, I've got my paper towel here. I just dropped a paintbrush. I'm going to squish it up, and I'm going to pull off some of the paint to create the idea of clouds. You see, it just kind of is very subtle, but it gives the idea that we've got some clouds there. Okay, that's good. That's all I wanted to do. Pick up my paintbrush there. And I think I'm going to add, I'm going to go back into, if I can find my palette, that darker blue that I think it was called fresh blue. And I'm just going to try to put that horizon line back in. I just want a little bit of a difference between the turkey blue of the sky and the fresh blue of the sea. And perhaps, instead of adding more of that transparent white color, I can do the same thing and maybe pull off some paint to make it look like peaks. And I can go in and blend after. That worked, actually. Worked really well. You have to make sure your page is wet for that to work, but... And be careful, you don't want to press down too hard because you could rip your page. It's very wet. I like that. Okay, so I'm liking what I've created here, but I am going to add a little bit of detail and hopefully not ruin my painting. I want to take some of this Prussian blue here. That's my dark blue, and it's 3 from the end here. I've got a little bit of wet paint on my number 4 round. A little bit of water, I should say, on my number 4 round. Now this is a very dark blue, so I am going to dip again in water. And I'm going to create some dark areas. I want them to be very dark, right around the bottom of the painting. And it's sort of mixing in with the other colors. You know, I have some white there. I'm not going over the white, just kind of going around it, and I'm going to try to blend so I don't lose all of that color that I put in. Very dark at the bottom. Just wetting to blend. And remember I said this was abstract, right? So it kind of takes the pressure off trying to make it look like a real ocean. Because I'm not one who seeks out perfection. I can't, it's not in me to even try to be perfect. I just like blending colors together and seeing how things look when you add them to the canvas. There are some areas that I'm going to leave. You know, those dark areas there? I think that looks really nice. So I'm going to leave that as it is, but try to blend the others so that they look better on the page, you know? I always say page. I'm so used to drawing. I always say page instead of canvas. I'm going to try to get that effect again that I got here. Just here and there. All right. Maybe one over here too. I really like that. I'm going to try something else here. I'm going to go directly into that fresh blue. Where was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to get that effect with the fresh blue. Sort of higher up, you know? Now water. Soften that a little. Don't know if it worked too well with that one. I just keep adding more and more layers here. Yeah, I think that's all right. That looks okay. You want over here? Just to give a little bit of a highlight to that white area. When you add shadow, it helps with the highlighting, right? So I might try that with the turkey blue as well. That nice light turkey blue. Just too much water on my... There we go. Okay, Let's see what I can do there. Bringing some of the turkey blue down too. I don't want it to look like, you know, like that. Abstract, right? This one might be a little too high up. I'm actually going to get rid of that. There we go. Blend that better. Okay. Okay, that one might be a little too high as well. There we go. I really like how this looks. I'm actually going to try to put a little more white in there. I don't have that much water on my brush. Let's see. Where can I put it? There we go. I really like this, my friends. I think I'm going to stop because I could get carried away right now. I would like to stop that right now. I'm going to let this dry for a little bit and then I'm going to pull the masking tape off. Well, my painting is more or less dry, so I'm going to start pulling off the masking tape very carefully, because if it's wet, it might rip the page. The canvas, the page, the canvas. You guys know what I mean. Okay, that one was all right. Let me do this side here. I'm going slowly. Alright, so far so good. Now we've got a little bit of wet paint here. I don't want that. I think it already kind of bled out onto the white border, but that's okay. I have a little trick to fix that. Oh, it's not too bad. And yeah, that was definitely a pet hair stuck under there. Can't help it. When you have so many animals in the house, it's bound to get hairy. Alright, so that's nice. I always put an old paint canvas as my work surface, but it's really dirty, so I wanted to show you what this looks like. I'm pretty happy about that, you know. I like the way I kind of see peaks and valleys, and it looks a little choppy down here, but then it calms down as it gets towards the horizon. And I love the clouds. I'm so happy I did that with the clouds. Very, very nice. I hope you enjoyed this relaxing little hour of watercolor painting, my friends. And if you did, please hit the like button and do subscribe. And please leave me a comment. I do love reading your comments and I reply to all of them. And if you know anyone who might enjoy this, would you please share it? I'd really appreciate that. Thanks for being here, my friends. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time on Rain Francis Art. Bye.